Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Bright Founders Talk at Temi. Temi is an international software development company that designs, builds, and delivers software for sustainable businesses and promising startups. My name is Matthew, and today I have the pleasure of being joined by Mr. Thom Rietberg, who is the co-founder and designer at a company called Infowise. How are you today, Thom?
Everything is fine here. Thank you.
Good stuff. Thank you for joining us. And before we get started, Thom, if you can tell our viewers a little bit about who you are and what it is that you do.
So my name is Thom, and I'm the co-founder of Infowise. And Infowise is a communication startup. We build communication for schools, and that's mainly schools in the Netherlands, where we're based as well, and mainly for secondary schools, so age 12 to 18. And so we picked a niche in the Dutch ed tech sector. What we build is mainly everything based around communication. So that is a communication app for parents, students, teachers to communicate with each other, but also kind of other products that touch the communication of the school as well. So we make a school guide, we make forms to enroll yourself at a school, and that's kind of what we do. Yeah.
I like that. So like a one-stop communication shop for the school. Is that right?
It's that, yeah. And it makes the great thing for the school is they have less touch points with multiple companies to fix their communication. They only have us, and that's kind of our goal. And we've been doing this for, I think, 6-7 years now. And yeah, starting from 2-3 schools to where we now with over 200 schools, and these schools are like between 100 and I think 3,000 students. So it varies a bit, but I think we have about over 200,000 users right now on our platform.
Wow, that's incredible. A couple of things to unpack there. I think you would have piqued the interest of a lot of parents of children, and obviously of teachers and school members. Tell us a little bit about the birth of Infowise. Where did the idea come from? How did everything get going?
Yeah, long story, but we have the time, I guess. I was a freelancer designer, and a good friend of mine, with which I did a study at the University of Amsterdam. He came to me and said, "I really want to build a startup, or like start together, build something together." And he kind of quit his job, and then we were thinking, what can we do? What kind of project? What kind of startup can we build? So it was really like grassroots, starting from nothing, like bootstrapping everything. And back in that time, I had a project for a school for building a school guide. So every school in the Netherlands has to provide a school guide that has some basic rules and like a roster and that kind of thing. And they have to provide that. It's like mandatory by the state. And I was building a small platform for that school. And then we said, that could be a bigger project than just for only one school. And then we start building that more like a SaaS product for multiple schools as well. And then it kind of started rolling. But at first it was just like 1 day in the week. Then there was 2 days in the week. We also had some other projects running as well. But then it just slowly started, what I said, with like 3-4 schools. Before we knew it, we had like 15 schools. And then we thought, what can be like our next product? And then we just looked at the landscape and thought, you need more like communication software between those layers, between the school, between the parents. Something that already existed at primary schools. And then we jumped into that opportunity, I think 5 years ago. And then it really exploded.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I like that. So when it started, you did mention before we got into this that I think you said yourself and your co-founder, you didn't have a similar sort of background in was it IT?
Yeah, we're both like a non-technical founders, as you might say. I'm a designer and I know a little bit of code, but it's not really a lot. And his background is in politics, so he doesn't have any technical background as well. But we're both quite tech savvy, So we know what we want and what would be feasible, but we can't build it ourselves. And when we started, we really have to look at like, how can we fix this problem? How can we build what we want to build? We looked at like freelancers or agencies from abroad. I think we looked at agencies in Ukraine, in Romania, India even. But then we settled on hiring a very young guy that we met who already did some software stuff for his school when he was a student. And he really helped us build our dreams and build the app we wanted. And then I think 5 years ago, we kind of took the risk of really employing people, employing programmers, developers, and also salespeople.
Wow. So there must have been a bit of a learning curve for you, though. If you come from that background, you said, are not too technical. And now you have to find people that do come from technical backgrounds and know who you're employing. Are they the right kind of people? Can you talk us through that process? What did you have to learn? How did you know that you were bringing in the right kind of people to make your dream a reality?
Good question. Yeah, I think that's kind of also the beauty of being a founder. You have to fix and do everything yourself and find out everything yourself, of course, with help of friends for advice and that kind of stuff. But yeah, you have to trust your gut feeling, and you have to really trust people when you hire them. But what I said, we are both quite tech savvy, so we kind of know where we want to go and what would be what we could achieve. But hiring them was quite a big risk at first. And not only that, you also really want to build a culture as well, something we both didn't do it within the company. But slowly and like gradually, that just all went well. Yeah, so it's something. Yeah, we hired great people. Every time something was like missing or it was just too much work, we allocated our finances to a new hire. But yeah, that's how you scale probably. But yeah, that's kind of how we did it. Yeah.
Talking about scaling, so you had a previous project which you said had grown, and it had grown quite rapidly, and so you came up with a new idea. You brought somebody on with the right qualifications or the right experience to design what you needed or to build what you needed, and then you obviously had to start upscaling. You had to start expanding. Can you maybe talk us through some of the steps or some of the challenges that you faced in expansion?
Yeah. So I think scaling up is quite difficult, even if there's like, we got the demand. So schools really wanted our product, that there was a product market fit, but still so we built it's what we call the Hoi app. It's the app for the parents to communicate with their parents to communicate with their teachers. But the first version we built was quite like an MVP. It was like for the first, I guess, 10,000, 20,000 people, and that went really well. But then on a certain point, you have to rebuild everything, but keep the users in the platform and don't lock them out, for instance. You want to build the same experience. So I think there are multiple like challenges. You want to scale your products, make it better, make it faster, but you also want to scale your team. You don't want like all kinds of new people in, or get people in from a really different business culture or something like that. So that's quite difficult. And since we're like self-funded, we don't have any investment. You want to do everything quite reliable and don't take too many risks, I guess. So yeah, scaling is always like a balance of people, products, money, and yeah, sometimes it's like a tightrope, but in the last years we managed well.
Good for you. Tell us a bit about that. Obviously, different people do things in different ways, but when you're spending your own money, as you said, you've got to be very careful with the kind of risks that you take. What was that like for you? Saying, look, this is what we got. I'm going to put it in here. How sure are you that this is going to work? There must have been some interesting moments.
Yeah, I think the first couple of years, it really felt like our money, like me and my co-founder. But after a while, it feels like the company's money that just goes quite smoothly. But I think that when we did our first hires in 1 year, I think it was 3 people in 1 year that were 3 hires, we would end the year in a big minus. So we knew we needed a lot of new clients in that year. Otherwise, we would have to lend money or attract investors or that kind of stuff. But it was also like an investment in the team because you have these people now full time in your team as well. So I think that was our biggest risk, that we said, oh, we gotta, if we don't get any new schools, we will end the year at, I think, minus 150,000 euros or something like that. So that was quite a big risk, or a big something we were quite scared of, but we knew we would manage as well. I think that was one of the biggest ones that we weren't sure if it was going to fit, because then we only had like 15, 20 schools, and we needed to scale to, let's say, 40 or 50. Yeah, so if you ask what's the most difficult balance, I think that was that year.
Yeah, I don't know if I would be able to take a similar risk. So good for you. I'm glad that it worked out, and it's good to know that you managed to keep everything afloat.
And also, I think in that period we were like 25-year-old, 26-year-old, and
wow.
Back in those days we didn't have a home, we didn't have children, we didn't have a car, and so you don't have a lot of things going on in your life, so you're more flexible. I don't think I would be able to do that again where I'm now. But back in those days, it was easier to make that decision.
That's interesting. Thanks for mentioning that. And if you could speak to the younger version of yourself now, being where you are, knowing what you know, if you could speak to the younger version of yourself, what would you say? Would you say go for it, or good choice, let's do this?
That was a good choice. In the end, the reason we want to try a startup, my co-founder, was purely for the freedom of doing what we wanted to do. Of course, in cooperation with our team, and also in cooperation with our clients, because they are a big partner in how we develop stuff. But yeah, it quite paid off taking those risks, I guess. Yeah. So me to my younger self, just keep doing what you're doing, probably.
Keep doing what you're doing. I like that. Talking about going through that process now, obviously, without giving away too many secrets, you must have some plans for future development. Have you noticed any competition coming into the market? How are things looking outwards or forwards?
The primary school market is quite, how do you say it's saturated?
Saturated, yes.
Saturated, that's the word. But the secondary school market, like the 12 to 18 years old, it was quite like an open market. There was not a lot going in the communication sector, in the communication landscape. So we were quite the first going into that in the Netherlands. And we still are the biggest, and we still have the benefits of going first. Nowadays, we see a couple of competitors which are quite small and don't have those years of experience and expertise. So we're not quite scared of them. But I think it's good and healthy for the landscape to have a couple of parties who are doing the same. Yes. The most difficult thing is maybe you start making a lot of promises to schools, I guess, when you're small, and we don't do that anymore. We just say, this is the product. And those smaller ones can make those promises and say, in 1 year you will have that. And that's quite hard to compete against, because we can afford to make promises that we are not sure if we can make those promises.
And one of the things, I suppose, of staying up to date is managing this ever-changing sort of software world, with the advent and improvements of AI and things, you'd have to keep your finger on the ball with the latest technology, the latest improvements. How do you manage that? What have you got in place that keeps you guys ahead
Yeah,
of the
definitely.
game?
So I think one of our strategies is to make like a really broad scale out of products, all based on communication, all for parents as well. There are multiple things we can do that in the future. For now, our main goal is to have a stable, reliable product, which our clients love to have. So we have done that in the previous years, but we want to do that in the future years as well. And based on like things like, we have one benefit is that schools and the education sector is quite conservative. So they don't need that right away, whereas maybe some corporation would like that. So if you worked for banks or if you worked for insurance companies, they might want to have AI right now. For schools, for education, we can wait a bit with that. We do have plans, but for now, we just want to build the best experience within the features we already have.
I like that.
But that doesn't mean we don't use AI internally for ideas, for content, for that kind of stuff. We actually have in the office, we have like a monthly AI inspiration session where my co-founder, he's really into AI. He gives all kinds of examples, and then they try to build something in that session with our customer team. We have a customer team and a developer team. That's how we split the company, and he is doing their sessions mainly with our customer team. Yeah,
and that's pretty cool. It is obviously a buzzword at the moment, so we have to bring it up and see.
I do see the benefits, but I also see the downsides. I'm sometimes quite vocal about that. That all those AI gurus you can book a workshop with a lot of AI gurus. 1 year ago they were NFT gurus, and a year before that they were blockchain gurus. So it's quite a hype. It's quite maybe it becomes a bit exaggerated, but there's also a lot of benefits within AI. Yeah,
absolutely. You mentioned earlier, I'm going to backtrack a little bit. You said, when you started off, you had a lot more flexibility. You're younger, you didn't have as many responsibilities. Am I right to assume now that you have a family, you have more people around you? How do you manage to maintain a good work-life balance? Let me put it that way.
Yeah, good question. I'm still with the same girlfriend's wife I had back then, but there's a child now, a beautiful daughter. And I think it's within our DNA that those two really coexist. So my daughter came to the office when she was 2 months old. She still does. And very, very, very early on, we decided to have a 4-day work week within the entire company. So everyone in the company, we have 14 people working for us. Everyone works 4 days a week. And I think it's really, it's quite easy for me to say. Actually, I want my employees to say this, but whenever something happens with family or like a private thing, we're really open about that. Just take the day off. Work is not important right now. That's kind of our mindset within those things. So yeah, really important. And those two can really coexist. Yeah, that's a bit in the DNA of our company as well.
That's very cool. So you've got family orientated mindset, 4-day work week. Where do I apply for a job?
Are you a developer?
I could develop something. I don't know what yet.
Who knows? Yeah.
Develop a headache if I don't drink enough water. That's about my skill level there. But it sounds really cool, and I like that, having that family balance. And obviously I speak to different people and everybody has different ways of coping, but bringing your daughter in, having that environment from the start, I think that's very healthy, and very happy for you. Now, I'm going to ask you two more questions. Firstly,
Sure.
if anybody's listening that is interested and they want to find out more about what you do, obviously the name, when said in English, is not spelt the same as the website.
Maybe if I would do it all over again, because that was your question, maybe I would change our company name. Yeah, that's a good one. We're quite limited to expand to other countries. But yeah, I don't know if you can see it from here. But it's called Infowise. And wise means wise or smart in Dutch. Yeah, you can see it maybe there in the window.
The window there.
Yeah. So
That's
it's an IJS. It ends with IJS. Yeah.
So
but
if they're interested,
I think the name will be in the title as well, right?
Yes, it should be. And so they can email and get hold of you through your website if they're interested in taking these further.
Definitely.
And then my last one for you, and if I had to ask you to, more of a personal one here, if I had to ask you to write a slogan on your bedroom wall that you wake up and you see every day, a saying or a phrase or something, you wake up, you have to look at it, you have to read it every day. What does it say?
Be optimistic.
Be optimistic. I like that one. So, Thom, I'm not sure, is there anything else I may have forgotten or skipped over that you would like to bring up?
No, I think we managed to have like a short history history of Infowise, history of the the creation of Infowise. Yeah, that's about it.
It's a very chilled story. It's a very smooth vibe, and it's very refreshing, and it's very interesting to see that is still possible today. Often these things are fraught with heavy struggles, bankruptcies. There's always a lot of really heavy stuff that comes in.
We do see a lot of companies around us as well that are influenced by investment money, and they have to show exponential growth as well. Something we don't have. We have linear growth, but we do have growth year over year, and that makes it for a really relaxed setting. I guess we don't need. I say a lot internally as well, and I think all people within the company know. I say, well, 20 people isn't more than enough. 20 people is okay. If we reach 20 people, it's good. And maybe we will go over that. And that's not a problem, of course. But that kind of, maybe the ambition is to be not too ambitious, something like that. Because that also brings a lot of downsides with it. That means we need targets. That means we have to make unpopular decisions probably. And right now, that's something we don't need.
Yes, I love it. I absolutely love it. So, Thom, I'm going to let you go. It's a Friday afternoon.
Yeah, I'm here alone in the office. That's quite
I hope you didn't just stay for me.
No, I didn't. This is around the time we go home as well. Yeah.
Fantastic. So I'm going to let you go. Thom, thank you very much for taking time out to be with us today. Thank you for sharing your story with us. We will be keeping our eye on you in the future and wish you all the best.
Thanks, Matt.